Seattle high school student Andrew Detmer begins documenting his daily life at home. He struggles with his terminally ill mother, Karen Detmer, who has cancer, while his abusive, alcoholic father, Richard Detmer, frequently berates him. Andrew's cousin and closest friend, Matt Garetty, picks him up for school, sharing philosophical insights from his recent readings, which Andrew playfully mocks. Throughout the day, Andrew records different parts of his school life, showing where he eats and hangs out. However, some classmates bully him, snatch his camera, and tease him before eventually returning it. On their way home, Matt urges Andrew to attend a party, believing it will do him good. Though hesitant, Andrew eventually agrees. Later, as he reviews his recordings at home, Richard storms in, slaps him, and knocks him to the floor. At the party, Matt and Andrew go their separate ways. Andrew records the lively scene, capturing people dancing and enjoying themselves. He notices Casey, a girl who vlogs her day, while Matt awkwardly tries to impress her with more philosophical talk. Andrew soon finds himself in trouble when a guy accuses him of filming his girlfriend, forcing him to retreat outside. In the parking lot, he wipes dirt off his camera while crying. Steve Montgomery, the popular star quarterback, approaches Andrew and convinces him to join him and Matt to document something bizarre they discovered in the woods, a hole in the ground emitting an eerie sound. The three descend into it and find a large, glowing blue crystalline object. As Andrew films, the object suddenly turns red, triggering intense pain and nosebleeds for all of them. The camera abruptly shuts off. Weeks later, Andrew films himself, Matt, and Steve as they experiment with their newfound telekinetic abilities, moving objects with their minds. However, they experience nosebleeds when they push themselves too hard. They return to the site where they first discovered their powers, only to find the hole has collapsed. The sheriff's department is securing the area, preventing further access. On the ride home, Andrew and Steve open up about their families. Andrew shares that his mother is seriously ill, and his father, a former firefighter, was injured in an accident and can no longer work, relying solely on government insurance checks. Steve, in turn, reveals issues at home, suspecting that his mother may have been unfaithful to his father. Later, at home, Andrew practices levitating his camera when he overhears Richard on the phone, desperately pleading for more medical assistance for Karen. Richard can no longer afford her medication, and her condition is deteriorating. At school, as their powers continue to develop, Matt suggests that their abilities work like a muscle, growing stronger with repeated use. The three form a close bond and begin using their powers for harmless pranks. One evening, while driving, they encounter an aggressive motorist honking incessantly behind them. Frustrated, Andrew uses his powers to push the car off the road and into a river. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the boys rush out, and Steve dives in to rescue the driver before calling the police. Matt and Steve are disturbed by Andrew's reckless behavior, warning him against using their powers irresponsibly, especially against people. Matt insists on setting boundaries, but Andrew remains unapologetic. The next day, the boys meet Steve at a landfill, where he impressively levitates above them and encourages them to try it themselves. Matt goes first, but struggles to lift off, repeatedly falling face first into the ground. Andrew takes his turn and, to his delight, manages to hover, thrilled by the sensation of floating. Later, the three of them soar high into the sky, flying through the clouds at exhilarating speeds, weaving past one another. They even start tossing a football back and forth, catching it midair. As they slow down to hover, a plane suddenly passes dangerously close, knocking Steve unconscious. Acting quickly, Andrew swoops in and rescues him. Back on the ground, Steve excitedly celebrates their survival, thanking Andrew for saving his life. Matt joins them, and they all burst into laughter, overwhelmed with joy at the realization that they are the first humans to fly. That night, they have a sleepover at Steve's house, where Andrew declares that this has been the best day of his life. The next day at school, the boys agreed to travel the world together after graduation, with Andrew expressing a particular interest in visiting Tibet for its peaceful atmosphere. Later, Andrew and Steve hang out on a rooftop, where Steve is impressed by Andrew's refined control over his abilities, watching as he effortlessly levitates his camera. Wanting Andrew to gain more recognition, Steve encourages him to showcase his skills at the school talent show. Taking Steve's advice, Andrew puts on a spectacular performance, cleverly disguising his telekinetic abilities as an elaborate magic act. He stuns the audience with tricks like juggling and tightrope walking, earning admiration from his peers. That night, Andrew, Matt, and Steve attend a house party to celebrate, with Andrew enjoying newfound popularity. After drinking with a classmate, Monica, the two go upstairs to have sex. However, Andrew suddenly vomits on her, leaving her disgusted and himself humiliated. Following the incident, Andrew becomes increasingly withdrawn and irritable. His frustration escalates at home when his father attacks him, prompting Andrew to fight back using his powers. His outburst unintentionally causes severe pain and nosebleeds for both Steve and Matt, despite them being miles away. That night, Steve senses something is wrong and finds Andrew floating in the middle of a storm. He tries to comfort him, but Andrew grows agitated and furious. Suddenly, a bolt of lightning strikes Steve, killing him instantly. At Steve's funeral, Matt confronts Andrew, suspecting foul play in his death. Andrew denies any involvement, though later, in private, he tearfully begs for Steve's forgiveness at his grave. As time passes, Andrew distances himself from Matt and once again becomes an outcast at school. After being bullied, he retaliates violently, using his powers to rip several teeth from his tormentor's mouth. Seeking solace in a junkyard, Andrew begins to embrace a new philosophy, seeing himself as an apex predator, believing that his strength justifies his actions and that he should feel no guilt for harming those weaker than him. To prove his power, he effortlessly crushes a car behind him. Concerned, Matt confronts Andrew in his room after hearing about the attack at school. He reminds Andrew of the importance of their self-imposed rules to avoid harming others. The conversation quickly escalates into an argument, and when Matt throws a punch, Andrew stops at mid-air, showcasing his dominance. Unsettled, Matt immediately leaves. Desperate to get medication for his mother, Andrew goes to a pharmacy, only to be told he doesn't have enough money. As her condition worsens, he takes matters into his own hands. Wearing his father's old firefighter suit, he sets out to forcibly steal money from neighborhood thugs. Within seconds, he overpowers them all and takes everything they have. Pushing further, Andrew robs a gas station but accidentally triggers an explosion, leaving him seriously injured and in police custody at the hospital. While he lies unconscious, his father visits his bedside, furious and grieving. He informs Andrew that his mother has died and blames him for her death. Just as Richard is about to strike his unconscious son, Andrew suddenly wakes up and, in an explosion of power, blows out the hospital room's outer wall. Meanwhile, Matt, who is at a family birthday party with his girlfriend, Casey, suddenly experiences a sharp nosebleed, an indication that Andrew is in distress. Turning on the news, he sees reports of the explosion at the hospital and immediately realizes Andrew is responsible. Rushing to the scene with Casey, Matt arrives to find Andrew floating outside the building, holding his father in midair. Andrew then drops Richard, but Matt swoops in just in time to save him. Andrew, now consumed by rage, unleashes his powers on the city, causing chaos. Matt pursues him to the Space Needle, trying to talk him down, but Andrew refuses to listen, growing more unhinged at any attempt to reason with him. The situation escalates into a violent battle, with the two crashing through buildings and hurling vehicles at each other. As the fight intensifies, Andrew, now severely wounded but furious, begins using his powers to tear apart the city, endangering countless lives. Realizing he can't stop him any other way, Matt rips a spear from a nearby statue and impales Andrew, killing him. Surrounded by police, Matt quickly flies away. Sometime later, he arrives in Tibet with Andrew's camera. Speaking to it as if addressing Andrew, he vows to use his powers for good and to uncover the truth about what happened in the hole. Before flying off, he sets the camera down, pointing it toward a distant monastery, and says, "You made it," leaving the camera behind to record the peaceful landscape. If you enjoyed this video, don't be shy to hit the like button, and if you disliked it, hit the dislike button twice, just to be sure. It would be best if you watched the whole movie. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe for more videos like this.